was a father of five, a decorated Army helicopter pilot, a devoted church-going husband, but behind the suburban smile hid a cold-blooded predator. Between 1975 and 1998, Robert Lee Yates murdered at least 16 women, while living a double life so convincing, even those closest to him never suspected the truth. This is the story of the killer no one saw coming, and the trail of victims that haunted an entire city. Robert Lee Yates Jr. was born on May 27, 1952, in Oak Harbor, Washington, into a quiet, middle-class family rooted in faith. His parents raised him under the watchful care of the local Seventh-day Adventist church, a world steeped in routine, Bible verses, and Sunday morning hymns. After graduating from Oak Harbor High School in 1970, Yates attended college briefly before leaving and later marrying. By 1976, he was remarried to Linda Brewer, and over the following decade, he and Linda built a family of 5 children, 4 daughters and a son. The mantle of normal followed him into the Army. In October 1977, he enlisted in the U.S. Army, training as a helicopter pilot. Over the next 20 years, Yates would serve in multiple capacities, flying helicopters in Germany, Somalia, Haiti, and even participating in the Gulf War. He was awarded the prestigious Army Master Aviator Badge and several commendations, credentials that earned him respect and trust in communities and among peers. Those who lived near him saw a devoted family man, a neighbor who drove home every night, a father coaching Little League or helping his children with homework, a private man, silent, polite, unassuming. No one suspected the darkness simmering beneath the uniform. But underneath the facade of military service, religious values, and suburban life, another identity lurked, a predator who knew how to blend in, who slipped into lines of duty and dinners with his children, hidden by medals and a tidy lawn. The question that haunts us: how does evil wear the face of ordinary? In July 1975, Robert Lee Yates Jr. committed his first known murders, an act so brutal it remained unsolved for 25 years. He approached a young couple, Patrick Allen Oliver, 21, and Susan Patricia Savage, 22, picnicking in the woods near Walla Walla, Washington. Yates, armed with a .25 caliber handgun, shot Oliver 3 times, back, arm, head, and Savage twice, back, head. Their bodies were later found partially covered among tree branches. The murders went cold. No evidence pointed to Yates, at least not yet. He returned to his life, military service, the National Guard, a job at Boeing, all signs of return to normalcy. For decades, Yates blended into society. He wore the uniform of a pilot, supported his family, and remained a respectful community fixture. Yet behind that image lay a pattern of violence hidden in plain sight. In the mid-1990s, a chilling pattern emerged in Spokane, Washington. Women, many of them sex workers, began to vanish from the streets of East Sprague Avenue, only to be found dead in remote locations days or weeks later. The victims were often shot in the head and abandoned in fields, ditches, or wooded areas, many wrapped in plastic grocery bags that masked their identities and signaled a grim signature. These were not random acts of violence. They were calculated, pattern-driven murders that terrified the community. Spokane sex workers, already vulnerable, were uniquely exposed to this predator. They're referred to in some reports as high-risk victims. Their disappearance not prioritized by law enforcement until many were already dead. By late 1997 through 1998, the murders became more frequent. Women's bodies turned up near rural roads, covered with plastic wrapping or foliage. Each death spread fear through the city, and a gruesome moniker took hold in the media: the Spokane serial killer. Police were overwhelmed, no shell casings, because Yates often buried the bullets, no consistent dumping locations, and victims chosen across different communities. The randomness of it paralyzed investigators, turning a high hunt into a high-stakes guessing game. Despite the fear ripple, suspicion never fell on the guy next door, the handsome, polished National Guard pilot or loving father. He lived the quiet life that fooled them all, while his crimes grew increasingly brazen. What Spokane faced wasn't just an unknown killer. It was a patchwork of overlooked lives. The murders exposed the margins of society, where victims of poverty and addiction were left voiceless, their deaths unjoined until hope dwindled and patterns could no longer be ignored. These were not nameless bodies found in a field. These were women, some barely adults, each shot in the head or heart, discarded as quickly as they were targeted. Each life was stolen, but their stories deserve to be told. Stacy Elizabeth Hahn, 23, killed July 7th, 1988, found near Big Lake months later with a gunshot to the head. Shannon Renee Zielinski, 38, shot in the head May 27, 1996, discovered wrapped with a towel over her chest in Meade. Jennifer Ann Joseph, 16, and Heather Louise Hernandez, 20, both found on August 26, 1997, with gunshot wounds to the chest. Their remains were in rural Spokane. Darla Sue Scott, 29, murdered between September 30th and October 1st, 1997. Found November 5th in a shallow grave, shot twice in the head covered with plastic bags. Sean Lynette Johnson, 36, discovered December 18, 1997, shot twice in the head with plastic bags covering her head. Sunny Gale Oster, 41, found February 1998, shot twice in the head, wrapped in 3 plastic bags. Lori Page Wason, 31, found December 26, 1997, alongside Sean McClenahan, both shot in the head and covered in plastic bags. Linda Mabin, 34, discovered April 1998 near the previous victim's location, shot, covered with plastic bags and foliage. Melinda Lee Mercer, 34, found December 7th, 1997 in Tacoma, shot 3 times in the head and suffocated under plastic bags. Sean Ann McClenahan, 39, discovered December 26, 1997 with Wason, shot twice in the head, plastic bag overhead. Melody Ann Murfin, 43, Yates buried her under his bedroom window, discovered in October 2000. She was shot and covered with a plastic bag. Michelin Joanne Durning, 47, found July 7th, 1998, shot in the head, covered with grass, styrofoam, and tub covers. Connie LaFontaine Ellis, 35, discovered October 13th, 1998 in Tacoma, shot in the head covered with plastic bags. These murders finally led investigators to a break in April 2000. A survivor escaped and gave a partial license plate. DNA evidence tied Yates to the victims, and traces from his Corvette linked him directly. Arrest followed, and with it, the stunned disbelief of a community betrayed. "I can't believe it was him," said neighbors and family friends. The decorated pilot, the doting father, exposed as a calculated killer. These names, these lives, must never be forgotten. In the spring of 2000, Robert Lee Yates sat across from detectives and began to speak. There was no hesitation, no tremor in his voice, only the steady, calculated tone of a man recounting memories he'd kept buried for decades. He told them, calmly, that between 1996 and 1998, he had hunted women in Spokane. He named them, one by one. He described the streets where he found them, the cash exchanged, the moments they climbed into his van, unaware they were entering a tomb on wheels. He explained, almost clinically, how he would drive them to a quiet place, often a remote dirt road, and shoot them in the head with a small caliber revolver. The precision was chilling. No struggle, no hesitation. Each murder carried out with military efficiency. And then the drive to a dumping site, often within sight of civilization, yet hidden enough that their bodies would not be found for days, sometimes weeks. In court, Yates did not cry. He did not flinch when the photographs of his victims were shown. He avoided the gaze of their families, but when he did look up, it was with eyes devoid of empathy. The prosecutor described him as a man who killed as easily as most people change the channel. To avoid the death penalty, Yates pleaded guilty to 13 murders in Spokane County. The sentence, 408 years in prison, ensuring he would die behind bars. But the truth was far from over. In 2002, new evidence tied Yates to 2 earlier murders from the 1970s. This time, the jury showed no mercy. Robert Lee Yates was sentenced to death, and as the gavel struck for the final time, the courtroom fell silent. The only sound was the quiet sobbing of families who would never see justice as enough. When the truth about Robert Lee Yates became public, Spokane, in the nation, struggled to comprehend it. How could a man who mowed his lawn on weekends, who flew helicopters for his country, who sat beside his wife and children in church, also be a predator who hunted women under the cover of night? For law enforcement, the case left deep scars, years of missed connections, evidence that, if pieced together sooner, might have saved lives. Detectives spoke of the haunting knowledge that Yates had been hiding in plain sight, his crimes masked by the illusion of normalcy. For the families, there is no closure, only a life forever altered. The faces of the lost remain in photographs. Melody Murfin, Jennifer Joseph, Sunny Gale Oster, Connie Ellis. Daughters, sisters, mothers. Human beings whose lives ended in cold, calculated violence. Their names, their stories, their humanity will always matter more than the man who took them away. The case of Robert Lee Yates stands as a chilling reminder that the most dangerous predators are not always the ones we expect. They can wear a uniform. They can smile across the fence. They can look like the man next door. But behind that smile is a darkness you never see coming. If this story disturbed you, leave a comment below.